Hello and welcome to my Nintendo Wii Collection. This is a collection that I've sort of built up slowly because I bought a Wii at launch and I sort of played it quite a bit, and then I got like other consoles and then I started to not play it as much. But recently I've sort of slowly been building up my collection and I thought I'd show it to you right now. First up we have Resident Evil 4 Wii Edition. Resident Evil 4's absolutely superb game, one of the best games for a number of years. The Wii Edition is probably the most definitive one because with the PS2 and GameCube versions, at least, you had a laser sight where you had to aim your crosshairs on the Ganados. But with this one, you actually use the Wiimote to point at your enemies, and it feels so much more streamlined, so much more enjoyable to do that. And yeah, I really enjoy this version. Mad World. It's yeah, it's not bad. I've not played this one too much, but it's pretty decent. It's a bit weird. It's sort of the game's actually in sort of black and white, so it feels a little bit odd. But yeah, the actual gameplay is pretty decent. Plus, it's a platinum game, so yeah, that's always good. Next up, we have Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. I haven't played this one. I played the original on the GameCube and absolutely loved that. But yeah, I'm sure this one will be pretty good as well. Wii Play. Yeah, you get a free Wiimote with it. But yeah, the actual minigame is just sort of, yeah, it's alright, I guess. And then you're just like, yeah, I'd rather play an actual game. Next up, I probably say is one of the best deals I've gotten in quite some time, and that's New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Now, I actually found this in a charity shop, sealed for £2.50, which I could have sworn that I was like having some kind of like weird dream or something, because in most shops you find this pre-owned for like at least 20 quid, possibly more, and to get it for £2.50 I was just like ecstatic with that deal. And yeah, I played a bit. It's you know, it's good. It's but it's better with more players, of course. Next up, we have Sin and Punishment. Success of Disguise is basically the sequel to the N64 game, which never got released outside Japan, but you can get it on Wii console. Yeah, it's pretty decent, pretty good. Sort of on rails, sort of shooter, and yeah, it's pretty decent, pretty good. Not played it too much, but yeah. Next up, we have Pandora's Tower. I've not actually had a chance to play this one yet, but the concept sounds pretty interesting. It's about a guy who's trying to save, I think it's like his wife or some sort, like in like a certain amount of time, and like the quicker you complete the game, the better the ending you get, and yeah, it's kind of unique. I know there were two other games called The Last Story and Xenoblade Chronicles, which came out around the same time as this one, but I haven't managed to pick them up yet. Next up, we have WarioWare Smooth Moves. This was actually one of the games I got at launch, and had a lot of fun playing this one. It just makes you do like the oddest things with the Wiimote, and yeah, it's really an entertaining game if you get a chance to play it. Next up, we have Samba de Amigo. Yeah, it's okay. Um, I've heard this version isn't very good, but the alternative is the Dreamcast version, and like with that, you have to get both the game and the Dreamcast and the maracas, which would cost an absolute fortune. And I actually got this for £5 in Tesco's, so yeah, for that price, it's worth a little play. Next up, we have Trauma Center, Second Opinion, and it's an Atlas game, so yeah, it's always going to be good. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's basically like a sort of I guess you could call that a virtual version of the board game Operation, but with like a sort of story around it. And yeah, it's good. It's also on the Trauma Center on the DS as well. Next up, we have Punch Out. I'll be honest, I was a little bit disappointed in this one. I was hoping for a little bit more movement in the punching controls, like sort of like in Wii Sports with the boxing, where you have to sort of move the Wiimote to punch, and this didn't really have that. It was sort of more the sort of face buttons and the D-pad, and yeah, just felt a little bit unfulfilling for me. But the music's pretty good, at least. That's the one redeeming quality. It looks nice as well. The gameplay is just a little bit underwhelming, in my opinion. Next up, we have Muramasa, the Demon Blade, and this is if you've ever seen stuff like Odin's Sphere on the PS2 or Dust the Legion Tale or Legion Tale for Xbox Live Arcade. It's very sort of similar to this sort of. You sort of play as a ninja and you sort of or samurai even, and it's sort of like a 2D side-scrolling hack and slash game with beautiful graphics, absolutely superb. Next up, we have Resident Evil: The Dark Side Chronicles. Resident Evil: The Umbrella Chronicles, both first-person like arcade shooters, that type of mold, like a sort of House of the Dead or Time Crisis, something like that. But sort of with the Resident Evil story sort of loosely there, sort of like the best bits of each game, and yeah, pretty fun. Probably recommended you have like 2 players to play it, because on your own it's still decent on your own, but it's sort of better with a second player. And next up we have Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Very good game. To be honest, I like Brawl and Melee and the original all pretty much equally. I think they all have their own merits. This one is just like crowned with so many characters and so many cameos and stuff like that. That it's I just think this game is fantastic. But yeah, the online play is not the best. But that was never what Smash Bros was all about. It was all about the sort of local play with like your friends and that. Next up we have Pikmin 2. Now I know this on the GameCube, but I really didn't want to fork out all the cash for the GameCube version because I thought it was too expensive, so I got the Wii version instead. And yeah, it's pretty good so far. I like the fact that there's no time limit in this one. You can sort of go through the game at your own leisure, at your own pace, basically. And yeah, I think that's a definite plus over the original. And next up we have House of the Dead Overkill. This game is just absolutely hilarious. it's just like the original House of the Dead, only in a B movie form, like stuff like Evil Dead and Death Proof and things like that. Um, yeah, it's got that sort of very sort of tongue-in-cheek B movie flavour to it, and it just makes this game so entertaining. This is definitely an 18 rated game for the reason, because there's so much swearing it borders on the ridiculous, but it's really entertaining once you get into it. Next up, we have Little King Story. Yeah, surprisingly good game. You look at it and you think it's kind of a kiddie game, but yeah, there's a lot of hidden depth to it, almost like a Pikmin crossed with a Zelda game. And yeah, it's pretty entertaining. It's quite long, and I'm not even close to being this, so but yeah, it's really good. I highly recommend it. Next up, we have Sonic Colors. This is one of the best platformers on the Wii, in my opinion. It's very short, which is a shame, but it's definitely one of the best looking games on the Wii, and yeah, it's really fun while it lasts. Next up, we have Metroid Other M. Yeah, I can understand why people dislike this game. It just feels so different from all the other Metroid games that I've played, like the stuff like Metroid Fusion on the GBA, and like Metroid Prime Hunters on the DS, and like the Prime games on both the GameCube and the Wii. This one feels very weird, but it's okay. It's not brilliant, but when it's not brilliant, it's not really good enough with a franchise such as Metroid. So I can understand people's frustrations with it. Next up, we have Wii Sports. It's Wii Sports. Yeah, it's fun for like a half an hour play. Like showing the Wii off. Is sort of one of the first games you go to for someone who hasn't played one before. But yeah, it's okay. I wouldn't say it's the most important game ever released, but yeah, it's quite good for as a tech demo, I guess. Next up, we have Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess. Very good game. I'd probably say one of the best Zeldas. Not the best, but yeah, very, very good. Is the Wii motion controls kind of tacked on? Yeah, well, yeah, because this was supposed to be a GameCube title originally anyway, but yeah, it's still good either way. If you can, I'd probably get the GameCube version. Next up, we have Knight's Journey into Dreams. This was a sort of remake of the Sega Saturn game, and yeah, it's okay. I wasn't overly familiar with this the original game, because I never owned the Sega Saturn. I wasn't really familiar with many of the Sega Saturn games as a kid, but yeah, from what I played, I like it. It's pretty good. Next up, we have Mario Kart Wii. I'd probably say it's one of my favourite Mario Kart games. Not with the wheel though, that's fucking pointless. But yeah, I thought the inclusion of bikes were interesting, even though they were slightly overpowered. But online, it's really, really fun, really, really solid online connections. Not always, but most of the time it's pretty good. And yeah, really fantastic game. Next up is Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, and this is the limited edition with the special orchestra CD. And yeah, I haven't had a chance to play this one yet, but I've heard very good things about this game. Some saying it's one of the best sellers they've ever played, which is high praise indeed. And for that alone, I kind of can't wait to get my hands on to actually playing the game. Next up we have No More Heroes. Not bad, not a bad game. Not perfect by any means. It has its sort of flaws here and there. I don't like the having to do odd jobs just to pay for assassination missions. I don't mind it for buying weapons and such, but yeah, for the assassination mission, it kind of felt that the developers of this game really tried to extend the game just for the sake of making it longer rather than making it fun. But the story is kind of interesting, and that's pretty much why I also got No More Heroes 2, Desperate Struggle, which is a massive, massive improvement on the first one. No tedious, odd jobs that you have to do to earn money to do assassination missions. You won't have to do that because you can pretty much do the assassinations whenever you want, and for that reason alone, it makes the game better than the original. But also the combat feels a lot tighter. The story is a lot more focused rather than it was a little bit all over the place in the original, but it's sort of more sort of tightly woven together in this one. I mean, don't get me wrong, it has its sort of crazy moments like only a Suda 51 game can, but yeah, way better than the first one. Next up we have Super Paper Mario. Not as good as the N64 game or Thousand Year Door, but that's mainly because this is more of a platformer than an RPG. I mean, it still has RPG elements, but yeah, it sort of focuses more onto platforming. But yeah, it's still fun, and it looks absolutely superb, as you can see. And yeah, I highly recommend it. Next up, something of a hidden gem, and that's Zack and Wiki, the quest for Barbarossa's treasure. Yeah, I like this game. It sort of harks back to the old days of point-and-click adventures with a little bit of puzzle sort of challenge rooms involved, almost like a Super Monkey Ball in a way. And yeah, really good. I've seen this in shops now, selling this for about £5 now, in the UK anyway. And yeah, if you get your hands on it, and I highly recommend it. Next up, a game that I hold very close to my heart, considering my history with it, and that's Mario Strikers Charge Football. Now, quite a number of years ago, back in sort of 2007, 2008, I participated in this televised sort of competitions on this channel called xly.tv, and I used pretty much the same username as my YouTube name, Skip to the End, and yeah, a lot of great memories. I actually finished runner up in the sort of finals overall, and yeah, made a lot of good friends, and yeah, had a lot of great matches. So yeah, not the most amazing game in the world, but it was significant to me, and that's why I love it so much. And finally, we have Super Mario Galaxy, and this game is pretty much close to perfect. It's so much variety, so much just like the graphics and the music is absolutely top notch, and I'd probably say it's one of the best Mario games ever made. I wouldn't say it's the best, but it holds up well compared to everything that's come before it. And if you have not played this, yeah, you really have to get this, because you'll be missing out on one of the best games of this generation, in my opinion. Yeah, that's it for my Nintendo Wii collection. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time for another collection.